guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mayowa, and today I'm going to be sharing a few tips on how to achieve a professional looking fit when making your own clothes. So let's get right onto it. So the first tip you need to consider is to know your correct measurements to achieve a perfect fit. Nothing screams homemade like a poorly fitting clothes, like a poorly fitting garment, because it doesn't really make sense if your design is meant to like hug your body and then the waist is looking bigger than you, or the bust line is saggy, or the hip has some like tension lines or wrinkles just because it's a little bit too small for your body size. So the best thing is to know your correct measurement, so that when you make your own clothes, when you're sewing, your sewing doesn't become a wasted effort. So you get everything is cinching. If your waist is meant to cinch, it cinches. If your bust is meant to be if it's meant to be a free dress, it's the free dress is like taking the shape of a free dress. So you need to learn your correct measurement. So to do that, you can get somebody to measure you, or you can also measure yourself. You can check out my tutorial on how to measure yourself to get the perfect fit. The tutorial should be somewhere above or somewhere around the screen, and if it's not there, please check the description box for the tutorial link. Now, the second sewing tip you need to consider is to make toils or mock-ups. This just basically means you making a test fit from an inexpensive fabric. So like, for example, like a calico or any inexpensive fabric that you have, so you use that to make a test fit of whatever design you want to make. So most especially when you're trying to make a design for the first time, you can use that soil or mock-up to like see how the dress is going to, or the bodies, or whatever design it is you're making, how it's going to look on your body before you commit to making it on your expensive or more quality type fabric. So whatever mistake you might make while trying it out on your test fit, everything, you'll be making all those mistakes on the soil or mock-up. So your finally adjusted soil is what you'll be using to cut your final design stroke on your actual fashion fabric that you're using for the design. Now, the third tip you need to consider is to iron as you sew, and that is literally ironing as you sew. It might sound like a lot of work, but then it makes a world of difference when you iron your clothes as you sew. So for example, especially when you're trying to join like two pieces of clothes together, maybe you're trying to join your bodies to the skirt part, you need to, after joining, you need to like open up the seams and iron it flat. Not just ironing alone, invest in a seam iron, so you seam iron it down, and when you finish your garments, you would like see a difference when you iron and when you don't iron. Now, the fourth tip you need to consider is to reduce bulk by trimming or clipping your seam allowances. So for example, if you check any of your store-bought clothes, like your ready-to-wear clothes, you will find out that if you check the side seam allowances, or you touch some of the sides of the garments, you will find out that there is literally no bulk on the clothes. As if you check the allowances, hardly will you find an allowance like a side seam allowance that is above half an inch. So if you are trying to achieve a professional looking garment, you need to follow that guideline. But if you feel like you cannot work with an allowance that is like half an inch, you can increase that to a 3/4 inch allowance or a 1 inch allowance. I would advise that you don't allow it exceed 1 inch allowance. One thing I've noticed with people is that they tend to like add more allowances than they need at the moment, because they feel like, okay, if I add like 1.5 inch or 2 inch allowance, so when I add a bit of weight, I can always loosen it and all of that. But it's not advisable to do that, because what you're essentially doing is adding to the bulk of the clothes, which makes it look ill-fitting and cheap. It doesn't ever look professional. So please learn to reduce the bulk. And then if you need to like clip any of the allowances, if you need to trim it. If your, for example, your neckline allowance, when you finish sewing the neckline, it's best to clip the edges, just so that when you turn it back around, the curve becomes like really smooth and all of that. So that's that for the fourth tip. That's that for the fourth sewing tip. Now the fifth tip you need to consider is to finish all seam allowances beautifully. And then for this part, you need to like invest in a serger or an overlocking machine, and that just helps you like make all the fraying edges, the raw edges, it just keeps it neat and intact. Another way to finish your raw edges is to use the bias tape to like enclose all the raw edges of your dress or garments. And apart from that, you can also some people use French seams, like between their lining and their fashion fabric. You use the French seam to enclose the raw edges of their garment. So whatever you are doing, just make sure your garment looks as beautiful as it is on the outside, it looks as beautiful also inside. So when you turn your garment inside out, it still looks beautiful and it doesn't have any rough edges and all of that. So the next tip you need to consider is to sew smooth and straight stitching lines, and that is like basically a given, because yes, you need to, if you are even if you are a beginner sewer, you need to know that sewing straight or straight stitch lines is like the beginning of sewing. If you struggle a bit with that, all you have to do is just like pin the parts of your clothes together. For example, if you are trying to join something, you pin it together so it doesn't move around, so everything keeps being aligned and all of that. If you are trying to top stitch a waistband, make sure the stitches are straight and then all of that. And so that is that for the sixth tip. Now the seventh and final tip you need to consider is to pay attention to the pattern layout. So if you are trying to sew your clothes, when you are in the cutting process, please make sure you pay attention to the pattern layout. That is how you are going to how you are going to place the pattern on your fabric. So if you feel like your design involves you placing your pattern on a straight grain, this is a straight grain. So if you feel like you need to place your pattern on a straight grain like this, you place it on a straight grain. If you feel like you need to place it on a crosswise grain, you place it on a crosswise grain. And if it is on a bias too, you make sure you place your pattern on a bias. So whatever your design requires, your pattern design, whatever it requires, you do that. For example, if you are trying to make a figure organ dress or blouse, you pick up your fabric and check out the parts with the most stretch, because some fabrics, if you touch some fabrics, find out that like maybe this part doesn't have a stretch and this part has a stretch. So this part means your crosswise grain, this part means your straight grain. So you find out that okay, maybe this part is the only place that the stretch is where you have the most stretch. So when you are trying to place your pattern on that type of fabric, you place it in such a way that the stretch, your pattern, the stretch wraps around your body. You place the pattern in a way that the stretch is in a position to wrap around your body rather than it dropping this way. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. Or for example, if you are working with a striped fabric, or there's a particular type of pattern you want to use, you want to make a focus on your design. So when you are cutting your clothes, you put that into consideration and place your pattern accordingly. So when you are working with stripes, if you want the stripes to be vertical, all you have to do is place your pattern in a way that when you cut it, the stripes come out vertically. Or if you want the stripes on your final design to be horizontal, so you place your pattern also in such a way that when you finish, it comes out horizontally on your design. And that is that for all of that. If you have any other sewing tips you would like to share, please type it in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, guys. Like this video and share with your friends if you found today's video helpful. See you in my next video. Bye.